All right, so back, shoulders, neck therapy balls today. I'm taking my big cozy sweater off, which makes me sad because I'm cold, but it's best to have thin layers if you got them, and if you're cold, cover yourself with a blanket. So that might be what I do. We're gonna keep the balls in their little ball tote. If you don't have a tote, you can put them in a sock and just tie up one end of the sock. So they're really perfect when they're in their little tote or in a sock, because there is a perfect line up here for your spine to rest between the two of them, and then they press on the erector muscles, which run the whole length of the spine, from sacrum right up to occiput. And then we've got through the upper back. Let's see, if this was the back of my body, imagine these are my shoulder blades, this is my spine. We've got the rhomboids, which are kind of like right behind your chest, so on the back body. So they're kind of like that midsection from like shoulder blades to just a little bit below shoulder blades, so kind of like mid area. And then, and my brain is totally like gone right now. I'm like, thoracic, no, that's your spine. Anyways, another group of muscles that does kind of the same thing. It's in the same area, but it comes up higher, so it comes up into the spine and it comes further down into the lumbar spine. And then you've got your lats that essentially come down and along the outside and come in towards a V towards your sacrum. So there's a lot of little muscle groups, or rather big muscle groups, that come in to the spinal column, as well as lots of tiny little muscles that come in. And then we've got all the little muscles, tendons, ligaments that are holding the ribs in place. If you've ever popped a rib out or sprained or strained one of your intercostal muscles, very uncomfortable as far as breathing or doing anything in life. So I think if you were to just have a practice of one thing having to do with the therapy balls, using it for self-back massage would be that practice. So today we're just going to do all back stuff, which is pretty rad. I could probably teach 6 hours of just back stuff, but we don't have that. So we're going to go with an hour. So pretty much the movements through this series are going to be just about the same in every position that we go to. It makes it really easy to remember. It's just repetition over and over and over and over. And the way I like to work is I move to like the lower end of my mat, because if I start here with the balls right at the beginning of the thoracic end of the cervical, if you kind of feel back, you'll feel a big nubby. That's where the cervical and thoracic swap. If I'm starting right there, I will eventually, as I roll through all of the points, I'm just going to push myself through, okay? And I'll end up here. So I like to start at the foot of my mat. And we are going to start at that little nubby space. And I feel like I need a blanket right now, but the second you get into this stuff, you will start sweating, because 1, it's a little bit of a workout, and 2, it's painful, which will get your nervous system pumping out some hormones. So we're going to start right up there at the top. So I'm not on my neck, I'm just into my shoulders. Then I've got one ball on either side. And I'm just going to rest here for a moment. Sometimes the resting is all you need, in all honesty. You might need to add a little bit of weight here. You can do that by having a block, putting your hips up on the block. It's kind of medium because the block takes the weight of your hips. So it's a lot less on the shoulders than it would be if you just were in bridge and pushing all of your weight onto your shoulders. So one option or the other, whatever feels good to you.
And we're just going to be shrugging the shoulders up and down. It's a really small movement. And if you find something sticky, you can hang out and do what I call the eraser, which is just like a small little movement, like you would be erasing something on a piece of paper. So if you find a really sticky spot in your shrug, you kind of hang out there and just like a fast little back and forth over that sticky spot. And then you are going to pick your hips up, if they're not already up, and roll yourself down just one position. So you are going to set your hips down right at the top innermost point of the shoulder blades. And relax the ribs down, because a lot of times, especially if it's tender, there'll be a desire to pop the ribs up or to try to hold the head up a little bit. So make sure everything is resting. Again, we just take a couple breaths always as we come into a new place, and we try to relax the whole body as much as one can possibly relax when you've got a therapy ball shoved into your back muscles. Whew. We're going to take our arms, wrap them around ourselves, give ourselves a hug. So this hug action kind of broadens the shoulder blades, gives a little bit more space for the therapy balls to press into. And then if you want to go a little deeper, you can start to rock side to side. And again, we're looking for those really sticky areas where it feels like something's stuck or it's super sharp and painful. Those are great areas to hang out in, or to do like a little eraser movement. The other thing I want you to be aware of are areas that you're blind to. So it's like there's no sensation. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't really feel like anything. Those are also areas that you want to lean into and tune into, spend a little more time in, because that means that there's some nerves that are turned off there, or there's some scar tissue that have wrapped around a nerve so that you're not feeling. And then swap the cross of your arms, so you're hugging yourself the other way. And what this does is it just elevates one shoulder and depresses another shoulder. So you're just switching it up a little bit. You may notice that one side is more intense, or one position of the arms is more intense than the other. And I'm releasing the arms up towards the sky as if you're holding a beach ball. And you'll start to drop the arms back. And we're reaching those thumbs for the floor. May or may not hit the floor. And then we bring the arms all the way back up and through towards the knees, and then down to the floor towards our feet. And back and forth. Again, if you find a spot that's either hyper excited or hyper not excited, you stop, do the little eraser thing. And then the next time your hands reach up past the head, you're going to turn your palms towards the sky and pull your elbows down. So kind of like towards cactus arms, and then pull the elbows as far down towards the hips as they'll go. So really squeeze it down, and then reaching straight back. And almost try to bring your thumbs together overhead and back down. So again, as we're doing these movements, always the option to pause somewhere, hang out, and also the option to do the little eraser. And then you're going to bring your hands behind your head, pick your head up, pick your hips up, and roll yourself down so that you're right in the middle of the shoulder blade. And then set everything back down. Take a couple deep breaths. Relaxing as much as you can. And giving yourself a hug. Either just staying still here in this hug or rocking side to side. And swapping the cross of the arms. And maybe rocking again. And sometimes rocking really far over, you get right to the edge of those erector muscles. And that can feel amazing. And by amazing, I mean super painful. Coming back center, the arms reach up towards the sky like they've got a beach ball, and then drop back. And swing down. And just back and forth between the two. And the next time the arms reach up past the head, you'll pause, turn the palms up, And then pull the elbows down, cactus, and then keep going. Everything past shoulder height gets really hard. Back and forth. Make sure that you're breathing through this. It can be intense, and then we tend to hold our breath. So a nice way to think about it is we inhale, bringing the arms up. And we exhale, bringing the arms down. And then also just noticing if you have tension in your face, try to relax that tension. Scrunch it up your forehead, won't do anything to help the back as much as it tries to help. And then we're gonna take the hands behind the head, pick the head up, pick the hips up, roll down so that you're right at that bottom point of the shoulder blades. Drop the head back. Take some nice relaxing breaths. Try to melt into the therapy balls. Become one with the therapy balls. And giving yourself a hug. Adding a rock if that feels appropriate for your body. Swap the cross of your arms. And reaching the arms up towards the sky. And dropping the arms back. And bringing them up and down. And then the next time that the arms go all the way back, you'll turn the palms up towards the sky and start with that cactus position, pulling down. And then once you go past the shoulders, keep pulling down. And this position, you'll really feel, now we're at the bottom of the shoulder blades, you'll really feel the therapy balls get squeezed by the shoulder points. And then bringing the hands behind the head, pick the head up, pick the hips up, rolling down just like one ball whip. Whew, this is my super intense spot. So it's right about where your bra strap would sit. For me, it's like my whole diaphragm tenses up in this position. So you might find that you get pain referral where it's like, why does my rib cage like in the front hurt? Well, it's all wrapped around. So you may have a rib that's slightly out of position that you don't know about until you shove a ball onto it. And if you might get the referred pain around in the front body. So starting off with a hug again, I'm going to continue to lie here until the spasming stops. And if you're in the hug and you want to rock and roll side to side, you can go ahead and do that. And then switching the cross of your arms. Adding that rock if you'd like. And then reaching the arms towards the sky and dropping the arms back. And then reaching them all the way back through and over towards the hips. As we go lower down, if you're finding, like me, that you got some real intense areas, you can always bring your head up onto a block, which will ease that slightly and stop you from tensing up all the work, all the muscles on the work that we've just done. And the next time that the arms are overhead, turn the palms up and start that dragging of the elbows down and back up. And now chances are you'll actually be able to relax your arms onto, or at least your elbows onto the mat for this movement. And then you're going to pick up your head. Maybe pick up your hips unless you're me. Oh, such a bad spot for me. And roll down a little lower. Oh, I just got a super back crack though. Oh, woo, worth all that pain. Saving myself a trip to the chiropractor. Whoo. Giving yourself a hug. And now we're kind of past the point where the arms provide direct pressure. We still get a nice spreading of the back. So you can play with this. Sometimes it helps to take a really big hug, so really wrapping the hands. Some days I like to do more of like a waist hug. It just depends on my body and what's going on and what feels good. So you can play with it. Is it better to have the arms weighted here, or is it better to take the spreading of the muscles of the back up here? You can decide. You can still add your roll side to side if that feels good. And swapping the cross of your arms. And try both options, both the super hug and the belly hug for this arm option as well, because when you swap the fold of your arms, it might be more effective in a different position than it just was. And then reaching the arms up and back. And then up and forward. So this time, when you got the arms overhead, instead of going directly into cactus, we're actually going to do, I should stay upright for this. So this is what it'll look like. Scissor arms, where we kind of do this, like reach on one side, reach on the other, this action. So we're scissoring our rib cage, which is gonna do a little dance on the therapy balls, which is probably gonna be painful in the best way possible. Oof. And then you can go ahead and start the cactus arms. And this one should feel real, like the most intense, probably down as you squeeze in, because that's where you're really getting those muscles activated. And then we'll add one more thing here. Bring one knee and then the other up. And it might just be a little bit, kind of depends on how your body's feeling. We're just adding more pressure. If you're like super crazy person and you're like, I can take all the pressure, you would pick your head up and hug it towards your chest. I'm not that person in this particular spot. And then just roll yourself off the therapy balls to one side. Oh. Release them out from it under you. And take a moment, ball free. Oh. Thankful on your back. Whew, okay, so that one that I was telling you about at the beginning, you're going to want to be at the top edge of your mat. So I'm just going to pull mine back so that I'll stay in the camera frame. And it's essentially like if you've ever sat in one of those massage chairs, you know, where it like the little nubbies start right up at your neck and then they push all the way down and then they pull all the way up. That's what we're gonna do. The reason I have you come off of your mat is so that you can actually use the floor to slide, so that you don't have to keep picking up your head and like doing this as you go backwards. So we start right at the edge. We start with the balls right where we first started. And I do like to kind of hold my head up for this first part where I kind of get up. And then I just use my feet to roll, put my head down, drop my arms out, lazy lady. And I'm actually pushing down into the therapy balls as I roll. And I try to stay as relaxed in my upper body as possible, especially when you get to a place where it feels like your back's gonna crack and you know there's that intensity that happens. All the muscles wanna tighten up. Those are the moments where you wanna just go like as surrendered as possible. And I go down to just about where we finished and get a little more footing under me and then do the same thing. Just gonna drag myself back up. It's not the most graceful looking thing. And go back and forth a couple times. And again, just roll yourself off, move the balls out from under you. Whew. Take a second. Okay, so last part, you're gonna want a block or some books. They're stacked up. And you're gonna make yourself a pillow with it, essentially. And the balls are gonna go right at your occiput. So if you feel the back of your skull and you walk down towards your neck, you'll feel a ledge where the bone ends. That's your occipital ridge. We're gonna put the balls right there. Now, when you first start doing this, and then the balls go on the block, you might take a minute to have to find your sweet spot, which is the spot that you can rest all of the weight of your head back onto the balls and onto the block without the balls kind of like shooting out in one direction or the other. But once you find that spot, you'll forever be able to find it, and the balls will always stay there. And once you do find it, just take a second to hang out. And this might just be it. This is so nice. It feels like you can breathe a little bit more deeply. Feels like your eyes are getting massaged somehow. The jaw tends to soften here, so it's like the whole face gets real droopy. Speech gets altered. However, if you want to go deeper, you're going to imagine that at the tip of your nose, there is just a watch face, okay? So a wristwatch, not a wall clock, a wristwatch. And your nose is right at the center of that wristwatch. And you're just going to move your nose up to the 12. So what, half an inch max? And back to center, and then down to the 6. And back to center. Up to the 12. And center. Down to the 6. And center. Super small. Just back and forth, rather up and down. And you might find that as you come down, it feels good to tuck the chin even more and keep moving the face down towards the chest. So a little bit bigger on that down drop. I'm falling back to neutral and going just a little up to the 12, back to neutral, and then all the way down. And finding neutral again, pause here. And then we're going to go side to side on that clock. So over to the 3 and back center, and then over to the 9 and center. So back and forth here, you are going to feel some resistance because they're in the tote or in the sock. It feels a little different, and I do think I like it better without them contained. So that's also an option for you to try. They will slowly move apart when you do that, which is fine. You just push them back together when they get out too far. Yeah, I do think I like them much better out of the tote. Definitely a little bit more squirrely, but I do appreciate the more range of motion that I get. I just feel like my brain gets reset when I work in this area. And then you can come back center and just hang out for a couple more breaths here. And then reaching back, lift the head up, take the balls out, take the block away, drop the arms down. And we'll just take a little Shavasana here today. Couple big breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Really let the jaw hang. And then nice and slow, roll yourself over onto your side. Pressing up to seated. Sitting up nice and tall and just enjoying that new spine. Thank you guys so much for rolling with me tonight through the spine and through the technical difficulties. Some planet is spinning out of control somewhere, probably Earth. Thanks for being here with me. Namaste.